What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another one of CCA's interview, which is part of our outreach series. For those who don't know, my name is Aaliyah. I am a CCA intern and a junior at St. Peter's University in Jersey City, New Jersey. I'm majoring in biology, aspiring to become a craniofacial surgeon. I too was born with a facial difference called golden heart syndrome that came a long road of therapy, surgeries, and a lot of rehabilitation. But you guys already know already, it never stopped me from achieving any of my goals. So today I am joined with Ariel Henley. Ariel is an author, DEI consultant, and thought leader with expertise in disability rights, disfigurement, and belonging. She aims to educate, empower, and partner with individuals and companies in creating accessible environments and products so that everyone can thrive. Welcome, Ariel. It is a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you so much. I'm happy
Oh,
to be here.
of course. Thank you for joining and sharing your time with us. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm in school, but we're thriving.
Love it. Love it.
Okay, let's start this off. Would you start us by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, my name is Ariel. I was in fact named after Ariel in The Little Mermaid. I Yeah, as you mentioned, I'm a writer. I do DEI consulting work on the side, focusing primarily on disability and accessibility. I'm super passionate about that.
Mhm.
I love writing. I think storytelling is a very powerful activism tool. I am now focusing on fiction. So I told my story and now I'm excited to use my creativity a little bit more. So yeah, I live in the San Francisco Bay Area. I'm an identical twin, which I write about a lot. Yeah, just happy to be here.
Yes, I love that. And guys, she wrote this book. Oh my gosh. Let me show them the book there.
Yeah, I
So,
probably should have mentioned the name of the book. My bad. I wrote A Face for Picasso.
yes, guys, she wrote, let's see if they can see it. She wrote a face for Picasso. And it is out everywhere. So place your orders. We are going to discuss this today. So I read your book about, I would say, a year ago. Yeah, a year ago in December, and it really opened my eyes so much. And I just want to thank you for sharing your story because I know it was so personal for you to write and so hard. But there's other kids that just need that that relativity so we could build and grow. So my question for you is, can you give us a quick snippet on what to expect for your book?
Yeah, so A Face for Picasso is structured into three parts. It's before, after, and healing. It primarily focuses on my relationship with my twin sister and our family and some friends, social life, that kind of thing. It starts in middle school and kind of walks backwards to show readers like how we got there and then takes readers through like early mid college. And it focuses primarily on two traumatic operations that my sister and I had with the summer before seventh grade. And it discusses those experiences as well as other experiences, medical, what it was like to grow up as, young girls in California with a facial difference and to not feel different, but to be treated like we were not even human, was quite an experience. And it explores all of that through a lens of basically comparing us to Picasso. Because when we were in um, elementary school, we were interviewed by the French edition of Mary Claire, and the article which I found years later, I didn't read it as a kid, so I found it that same summer that we had those traumatic operations. I read it and it compared our faces to works of Picasso, and so just being super offended by that. One, because I didn't know a whole lot about Picasso, but I knew about Cubism and the eye over here and nose over here. And I was like, okay, that's super rude. And also, again, just being a preteen girl and really identifying with my femininity and being compared in my mind to like an old man was like, what? Um, so, so to have the physical trauma, the emotional trauma, the psychological trauma, all of that, just really working through that and processing those experiences and diving into those relationships.
Yes, yes. And as you said you found an article, which I also read in the book. You explained it a lot more,
Yeah,
and you went into depth saying like, oh, how you were like so furious how someone could relate you to someone so like I don't even know the word. It's like so deceiving. So like, thought woman was like, disfigured and all that stuff.
yeah. I felt like a joke.
Exactly, exactly. And reading that, and I didn't even know anything about. I knew about Picasso, but I never really like, known of him.
Yeah.
You explaining it very thoroughly through the book really helps, and you explained it very well. My question for you is: throughout the book, you discuss about golden ratio and beauty standards. While I was reading your book, I never knew about the term golden ratio. And I asked my mother one day, I was like, oh, have you heard of the golden ratio and everything? She's like, yeah, everything has to be aligned and symmetric and, measure. I was like, oh, okay, I never heard of that. She's like, oh, where you heard that? I was like, from a book I'm reading. And she was like, well, don't think any of it because you're beautiful just the way you are. I was like, oh, thank you. So where I'm leading this question is, what is your definition of golden ratio for yourself?
Yeah. I mean, I, it's a kind of a tricky question for me just because, I learned about it at kind of a crucial age. And so, and it was in an art class, right?
Right.
And so, uh, art is historically linked to beauty and how we understand beauty through history. And so to have this idea of the face and the body should have these meet these certain ratios and have these certain standards in order to be considered beautiful was like, okay, no, like I don't know, like my face isn't structured perfectly, the distance between the eyes. And so I think for me, I don't really pay any attention. I'm kind of like your mom, where it's like, it doesn't matter because, I think it's rooted in our ideas of beauty now are rooted in Western standards of beauty. It's ableist, it's racist, it's sexist, it's all of these things. And it's like women are held to these standards primarily. You don't see articles about, oh, this man, his face is perfectly symmetrical. He has the perfect lips according to the golden ratio. But you see that with female actresses and models all the time. And so I'm trying to remember because like I block it out so much, but it's like the ratio is like 1 to 1.618, I believe, and it's based on like Fibonacci sequence and there's a whole like mathematical background to it, and it's seen in architecture and nature and all of these things, but on a personal level, I just you know
Yeah.
I ignore it. There's an art community that I love called Let's Make Art, and it's a lot of people learning watercolor. And the host, Sarah Cray, she always says it doesn't matter because the like how well you do. She's like, her phrase is like, I'm not mad about it,
Mhm.
basically, like if she makes a mistake, because she says somewhere in nature there's something that looks like this. And so I love that because even if someone's like, it doesn't look how I want it to, it's like, it's still beautiful, it's still real. And so that's kind of my approach to it.
Yeah, because you really went in with the beauty standards. And I thought back to myself, like, I didn't really like, I would say, like, really. care. Like I didn't really like, for beauty standards for me, like, growing up with a facial different, like as you. So I'm like thinking back, like, did I like, because I remember having art class too, and I did learn about Picasso, but my art teacher didn't go in depth, like explaining like how, like, how his art was very disfigured and everything.
Hmm.
But he really went in on the beauty standards. And I think he did that because he saw me, and I believe that he didn't want to like say like, oh, like, that topic, like disfigure and everything. Like I think that was the sense of the topic once he saw me, because I was like his favorite, because I was like a art nerd. I love art.
Hmm.
So he really made it so nice. He's like, oh, Picasso really understand the beauty and like, and everything. So
That's interesting.
yeah, it was like a flip side on Picasso for me, and reading this, like a negative and a positive.
Mm.
So I loved how you explained the golden ratio and everything. My next question for you is, how was it growing up with a twin who had the same syndrome? Because I know you guys lean on each other a lot of times, I read. And, it must have been I know it's been pretty rough. I read it. But how was it for you?
I mean, I love my twin sister more than anything in the world. Like,
Yeah.
I think she's amazing and perfect. Um, and in a lot of ways, it was so incredible to have someone to go through it with, especially because this was before social media. It wasn't like we could just go online and find other people who had been through or who were actively like going through what we were. So it was really I don't know, this feeling of like us against the world, basically. Um, and so I think social media is really powerful in that way. Not to say that it's easy now, like it's not. Um, but I think at the same time, it was also twice as traumatic because it
Mhm.
was like, okay, not only do I have to go through this, but now I have to watch someone else go through this. And so it was like, and I talk about this a bit in the book, but it's like that idea of like going first or second, you know,
Mhm.
if you go first, yeah, you don't really know what, like for surgery, you don't really know what you're getting into exactly, but it's like, okay, like let's just do it. And if you're second, then you have to go in knowing exactly what's going to happen and you see that pain and
Right.
you see the suffering. And and so it was really psychologically mm, damaging in a lot of ways, I think, for both of us because there was a lot of pain and a lot of helplessness. And
Mhm.
so I think in some ways I feel um, like, how do I want to say this? I think in some ways when writing my story, it was helpful to have that perspective because parents can relate to that feeling of helplessness, of wanting to be there for their child or their loved one as they go through surgery and yet really not being able to do anything. And so it did provide that unique experience of both
Mhm.
patient and observer.
Right.
So
Right.
it
Right.
definitely bonded us forever, like even more so, like we're identical twins, we were already close, but this unique experience that only we understand definitely brought us even closer.
It really did, because I remember you wrote in your book that you felt like you were the protector of Zan,
Mhm.
and you always put yourself first. So say like if there was a surgery, you would go in first, so you will know how it was, and if something happened. You are such like a hero. You are amazing. Like what you did, and like how you explain everything is just amazing. And like,
Well, thank you. In some ways, I feel like it was kind of selfish of me.
yeah,
So, and I own that. I
yeah,
do. I think, there was a big part of me, absolutely, that wanted to go first because I like the only thing worse to me than like being in pain and going through it was having to hear or see my sister in pain. Like it was horrible.
right.
Um, it felt like watching somebody be tortured. And it's like,
Right.
There is no her or me. It's like, well, okay, this is
Yeah.
just, you have
Yeah.
to do it. And so there was definitely a layer of selfishness there
Yeah.
on my part, um, but at the same time, like, I was medically more complicated.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it was always. And so if they could work out the kinks on me,
Right.
and if there was an issue for
Mm-hmm.
me, they could figure it out for her. So, yes, it could have been like I was a kid, like I don't think I was a selfish child. I don't think I really understood exactly, but I do think that there was the intense desire to protect both
Mm-hmm.
of us. And so it
Right.
was like that constant like internal struggle and war of like feeling like, okay, you can save yourself or save this person, like
Yeah.
emotionally.
You basically carried all that weight on you, like, all that,
Uh,
which is crazy and that's
yeah,
intense. But
yeah, that's why I think it's so important for kids going through this today to have the mental health support. 'Cause it
very,
is a lot. It is a lot. It,
and for me, I didn't have a twin, so I just, I was clueless for me.
yeah,
Just going through surgery back to back. I think I wasn't even like aware of what was happening because it was just like normal. I was like, okay, I'm going in for another surgery, da, da, da. So
right.
reading your feelings and everything, it's like wow, like I never had that, those thoughts and about beauty and all of that. So it's like wow, like you really don't know what a person's going through.
Mm.
So I enjoyed reading your thoughts because it was really good. The way you express yourself, wow. But how's Zan doing?
Oh, she's great. She's great. She graduated from University of the Pacific in California. She got her degree in psychology, and she went and got a master's from Columbia um, in social work, and then she got a second master's degree in international business from Franklin College in Switzerland.
Yeah.
And so she's done a lot of work in all kinds of fields, nonprofit, construction, DEI consulting. So she's worked in quite a few industries doing business management, business operations type work. So she's doing great.
Go ahead, Zan. Go ahead.
Yeah. So
Okay.
she and I started a company called True Sparrow. Well, I shouldn't say she and I. It's her baby. She started this company called True Sparrow, and it's a DEI and operations consulting firm, basically. And so we've been working with companies on company culture, DEI related work, and we have a few other people that we're working with as well. And so we focus on all kinds of stuff over there. So it's been good. She's doing great.
Yes, both of you guys are doing amazing. Okay. So I want to jump into another topic you discussed in your book, and this topic is about friendship. I wanted to talk about friendship because I believe this is an important topic because us people with facial difference is very hard to find true friends due to our appearances. So when I was younger, I really didn't even have that much friends due to my appearance. People would like just stare, you know, assumed I was, I can't do anything and all that stuff, named of, you call it, and I was luckily blessed because I was put into a sport called gymnastics, and I related to you because you did cheerleading in the book. So I was like, okay, there's some relateness to this. And in gymnastics, that's where I found my two best friends, and their names are Madison and Mia. Oh my gosh, I'm shouting them out right now.
I love
But
it.
I wanted to relate this because you did have two best friends called Nina and Victoria. And I found that so amazing because throughout your book, you express how Nina and Victoria saw you throughout your appearances. Like they saw you for who you are. So my question for you is, what did you learn from your friendship from Nina and Victoria?
I think that the most powerful thing you can do and the most impactful thing you can do to support friends going through a hard time is just to be there. It's just sometimes just sitting with someone in their pain, not wanting to fix it, not expecting anything in terms of explanations or hurry up and feel better so we can like get back to normal, like, but to just be there and to just love people exactly as they are in that moment. I think that is such a huge gift of friendship, and it's rare. It's
Yes,
very, very rare. But just that like unconditional love and support. And I think it's easier sometimes for people who have been through hard times themselves to
right,
do that and to understand that. I think, sometimes it takes a little bit of learning. But to have friends who were able to show up in that way at such a young age for us was huge. There was never any questions about us or Crouzon syndrome or surgeries. Like it was a non-issue. Uh,
right,
and so that's a big deal. And I had a lot of friends in school, but it was surface level, like it wasn't like they would show up and I don't know, be there after surgery. They didn't even know we had surgery. It was just like, okay, we're going, we'll be back, as we got older, they would often like we would tell people like our friends and stuff, but we would come back and kind of like it'd be like a shell of a person, and so just as like recovering and getting back to normal and easing back into things, but to have friends that were okay with us not being okay was huge, and so that's one of the big lessons I took.
isn't that the best feeling ever? Like when you're talking, like my friends, like I never told them about my surgeries, and like whenever I came, they didn't even like talk about it. They were like, "Oh, hey, what's up? Like, let's go out, let's do this and that." And I'm
Mhm.
like, I don't want to be seen right now. Like I'm like so like when it comes to surgeries, I want to be alone. Like heal by myself. Like
Yeah,
you said in your book, like I don't like I don't like no one to see me deal with what I have to deal with.
yeah.
So recently, I won't say recently, I would say years ago, I had this like big, I want to say, yeah, big surgery. And I did not want someone to, I didn't want them to come over at all. Like I had like a jaw extraction. So like there was like a metal wire sticking out of my jaw. And of course, I did not want nobody to see me like that. And
Yeah.
then my mom invited them over. And I'm like, they come upstairs.
Okay.
Like don't know what to do. I'm like, because like they never seen that side. Like I told them, but they never seen it.
Yeah.
Like, oh wow, like I could so relate to Ariel and with her friendship with Nina and Victoria with this, because like they're so like genuine and they're so real and so pure, and it's crazy how not crazy, it is rare to find people like that to understand and to like you know just be there for you when times get rough and don't even care about how you look or whatever,
Hmm.
you know. So
Yeah.
I'm blessed to have them in my life. Very, very.
I'm glad that you have friends like that too. And I don't know about your friends, but it got to the point with me, and I use pseudonyms in the book, so everyone besides my family has a fake name. So I keep wanting to say their real names, but with Nina and Victoria, it got to the point where like I'd get home from the hospital and like they'd be there waiting,
Yeah.
because like they were family at that point. And I remember like they we got really good at laughing about things, the way that I would with my family. Like sometimes like I'd get home from surgery and I would look ridiculous. Like
Right.
I remember, you might be too young for the Disney show That's So Raven.
No.
No, okay, okay, okay. Um, so there's an episode where she has an allergic reaction, right? And she like swells up. And so I had one surgery where it was like on my chin and my lower jaw. And I
Yeah,
got home from the hospital and I was so swollen. Like I had never seen myself so swollen. And it was hysterical. Like it was the funniest thing. And so I remember walking inside the house and Nina, Victoria, and Dan were in the kitchen and they saw me and they just burst out laughing. And so for like weeks, I was referred to as Raven
that's
because
love.
of the episode where she swells up from her allergic reaction because like that's what I looked like. And
I
so, yeah,
I love that. I love how you can laugh with them because you know it's not at like a mean way. It's like,
totally, totally.
they're family and like,
Yeah.
they see you like this. So I love that for you. Are you guys still friends to this day?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yes, true friendship. I love that.
Mhm.
Oh my God, that is so beautiful. I just find that so beautiful because you need people during your darkest times because,
Absolutely.
they help you pull you up and, keep going, which my best friends do all the time.
Yeah.
So I love that. I thought that was a great topic to talk about.
Well,
Yeah. One other topic I would like to talk about is cheerleading. You did cheerleading. And this is another big topic I want to talk about because you really put yourself out there
mhm.
for a sport that, so is really highly about beauty standards and all that stuff. And I relate to you because I did gymnastics too, and I did put myself out there. Like I was out in front of the whole crowd performing and everything. So how was it, cheerleading, like, being out, showing exposed? How was it?
It was really hard.
Yeah,
Um, I think part of my personality then was very stubborn. I'm still stubborn, but I
yeah,
felt like mm, I don't know how to explain it. It was like taking a stand. It was like, no, like I cared too much, I think. Like now, like personally, I think that what other people think of me is none of my business. Like
right.
that's your problem. I'm not going to take that on. But I totally took it on
Yeah,
as a kid and as a teenager. And so I felt mm, like it was standing up for myself
yeah,
to participate in cheerleading. And so I loved the dancing aspect of it. I really loved to dance. And so I had fun with that, but the rest of it was hard. Like I was just made fun of constantly.
mhm,
And like at times I had a good team and like I had fun with, my friends that were there, but the majority of the time was not fun. Uh,
right.
I did, gosh, I did quite a few years of it. And I think, part of me is like, why did I feel the need to prove myself? Like,
Mhm,
why couldn't I have validated my own experiences enough to just say, no, this does not feel okay. I'm going to go instead of forcing myself to sit in it. And so I don't know. I have kind of a complicated view on it now because I'm proud of myself for doing it. I think it's hard to show up and to participate in any activity where you feel unwelcome, any activity where just existing and being there is kind of a protest of some sort. But I also think as a society, like we need to move beyond that. Like
yeah,
if someone wants to do cheerleading or gymnastics or play a sport, like
yeah,
they should be able to, regardless of what they look like. Um,
yeah,
so
yeah.
yeah, it definitely felt like a bit of a protest
Most
against beauty standards.
Yeah. And I was reading, you said like, oh, like, you're explaining saying how others like, normally stare, talk about you, even your friends or like the teammates or whatever. You was always there, which just I love that. You was just always there no matter what. Like you was just always there. You didn't care. You just was there. You did your thing. And I love that because, you made a difference. You stood out, but in a good way. you prove to other people that you can do this too. So I
Yeah.
really love reading about your cheerleading experiences. Um,
I think in a lot of ways I don't know, being on the outside and looking back, like I said, and like I am proud of myself for still going and still cheering and still dancing and still being like, say what you want, I don't care, I'm not going anywhere. But at the same time, like, again, I wish I'd had a little bit more, um, I think I dissociated a lot in those moments. Uh, And so I kind of learned to just separate myself, and it normalized that kind of abusive behavior. And so it really is something that I've had to unlearn is like, if I am in a public space, not everyone is going to hate me. That's not normal behavior. Me being there wasn't the part that was unacceptable. It was everyone else's behavior that was unacceptable. And so that reframing and that relearning is something that I've had to definitely do so that I don't know, isolate and refuse to participate in things going forward. And so
yeah,
it's like, don't have that assumption that everyone's going to be terrible.
exactly, exactly. Um, when I was in gymnastics, I didn't really think too much about it. Like, I didn't think I really like realized that at that time, because I did gymnastics when I would say probably 4 or 6. So I don't think I really noticed my appearance was different at that time.
Right, right,
So I was just out there doing my thing, and then I would see some other girls and parents there because there's like 4 events when it comes to gymnastics, floor and all that. So I'm like doing my dancing. I love to dance. So floor was my best thing. I was like dancing. And I was like, oh my gosh, like they were so shocked. So how
mm.
was did you ever like receive any backlash like from the audience or because I definitely did.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely got stared at. There were definitely comments. There were definitely like people that were surprised that like I could do it, which was
Right,
like, okay.
right,
But I ignored it a lot. Like I just pretended that I didn't notice.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so I
The
was
same.
like, I don't know how to do.
Yeah.
I don't know how to deal with this. I'm not equipped for this. So it's just like la 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 la. It's not
Right.
happening. Um, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, okay, my last question for you is, what is some advice you would give to someone who's afraid to be who they are and to express their facial difference?
Yeah, I think everyone's journey is their own. What that looks like for you is going to be different than what the journey looked like for me. And that's okay. I think being kind to yourself and taking things as slowly as you want to, there's nothing wrong with that. But just remembering that you're not alone and that there are people out there just waiting to embrace you and to celebrate you. And no matter how different you feel, there are other people just like you. I had no idea there was a whole community of people with facial differences. No idea, and um, I started writing and I started hearing from more people and I started finding more organizations and joining groups on social media. And it's been such a beautiful journey, honestly. And so I think, if people can get involved in some of those communities, join a group on Facebook, follow a tag, like a hashtag on Instagram, like connect with others, whether it's just private messaging or until you feel comfortable participating in like public pages, like start wherever you want to. But don't hide yourself away. Life is short. Like,
Word.
don't apologize for being you.
I love that. And I just want to say one more thing to end this off real quick. Towards the end of your book, you said you went back to your high school and created a group called Girl Talk.
Yeah.
And I'm like, like the things I read in your book, I'm like, are we alike? It's just so crazy because it's crazy because like what I'm doing right now related to what I'm doing right now, doing the CC outreach series, and
Mm,
it's like, oh, he was like, oh, you wanted to go back to to give support that you didn't receive back then in high school. So I'm like, wow, like I'm literally doing the same thing. I'm literally a host on the CCA outreach series,
that's
trying
great.
to influence other kids. And it's like so insane. Like I felt like I was kind of reading my story a little bit. Like, it's like I was like, wow, this is so beautiful.
I love
Hearing
that.
other yes.
I
So
love
it's like,
that you're doing this.
yes, thank you so much. And you kind of inspire me because like I am starting a club at my school at St. Peter's, my college.
Okay.
Um, anyone like like a safe space for anyone who feels different. We could do homework together, anything. It's just like a safe space for everyone. So
Yeah.
thank you for giving me that idea.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm so glad that you're doing that. I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much, Ariel. It has been a pleasure chatting with you today. If our audience wants to learn more about you, where can they follow you?
I'm on Instagram at Ariel Henley, on Twitter at Ariel_Henley9, or my website is arielhenley.com.
You heard it, guys. We appreciate you sharing your time with us, and I look forward to chatting with you again in the future. See you
Thank
later.
you.